Yes, my consulting practice is selling strategies, and I started it in 1991 and have been working with the Omnia Group since that time. I'm one of the, I guess, ancient, antique, and historic people who work with Omnia. I couldn't have grown my consulting practice, which does focus in the property casualty insurance industry. I couldn't have grown this business without the help of Omnia, who has worked with in most of my clients actually over the years. There are 4 specific areas where I have relied on the Omnia Group to help my clients. And these 4 areas are, the first one is culture change transition. All these things are going to sound familiar from Heather and Wendy speaking, but the culture change transition, specifically in my role with my selling strategies, is transitioning from a service focus to a service focus to a sales focus, an internally focused operation versus an externally focused operation. Another transition culturally is one that we see everywhere. A senior generation, family member or not a family member, to the younger generation of ownership. That can be such a culture change, culture shock. And the third culture change is transitioning a business who just simply require a different leadership style that can deal with remote workers, that can deal with what 4 generations now we have in the business world today. So culture change is a specific area that the Omnia Group, which I'll talk about the processes in a minute, have helped me with. The second specific area is truly organizational structure and reporting chains. And why do we need to take a look at that, consultants, is to create a better run and better managed organization. Who should be reporting to whom and in what roles? And the third area where Omnia has helped me is helping clients determine the best position fit for an employee. Subject matter expert, management, product development, service, sales, processing roles. Where do they fit? You know, sometimes we just have to put a person in a different position to see them shine. And boy, what a gratifying experience to be on the outside looking in and seeing someone who had not been performing well in a certain role be able to shift positions and really excel. And the fourth area the Omnia Group has helped me with, and my clients, this is all in partnership with my clients, skill development needs. Talent transformation, identifying and overcoming performance gaps, and building on an individual's strengths. And Wendy brought this up in looking at those 4 columns, comparing assertiveness or attention to detail. And it's, you know, why wasn't someone good in a job? They were more socially oriented, people oriented, not facts and data oriented. And sometimes it takes a profile, an objective source, a personal assessment, a look in the mirror yourself to determine where you're best suited. And then the corporation, the company can go along with that. So the 4 specific areas where I highly recommend and where I've collaborated with the Omnia Group is culture change, organizational structure and reporting chains, helping clients determine an individual's best position fit, and of course, skill development needs. The 3-part process I've used in collaboration with Omnia are these 3. And this may not be for every client, but these are the 3 that I've used to achieve those 4 goals that I just mentioned in my consulting role. The first one is Omnia has a talent audit assessment. And this isn't anything so formal done by our clients. It can be a telephone call. It can be a more of a written survey, but it's a conversation where Omnia does such a thorough job of checking the background of my client. And this is what's so critical to achieve corporate objectives. Does Omnia, in processing these assessments and looking at team dynamics, are they knowledgeable about the corporate objectives, achieving quantitative and qualitative goals? And that's where Omnia has really, I think, risen above the competitors is the time they spend really researching with my client directly, what their goals are in this whole transformation process. So a key role that may not be for all clients, this is digging deep, is a talent audit assessment. The second part of the Omnia process that I've used with my clients is the individual employee and management assessments. And I was so pleased to see that, what was it, Wendy, about 40% already have what they call an assessment center, that someone can go in and take these behavioral assessments, and it's that individual that's taking them, not their daughter. We used to be wary about that, didn't we, in the olden days? But if you have an assessment center, then you are clear that it is that employee that's doing that assessment. So that is the big piece of it, this profile, the Omnia profile, and the assessments. And the third piece of the process, which brings it all together, so the background information that Omnia gathers, the individual assessments, then the next thing that they provide is a team dynamic analysis, and even better, recommendations connecting all those dots. So a 3-step process that I think, 30 years I've been working with Omnia, that I think really differentiates them. This just isn't an assessment. Background information, individual assessments that, as Wendy and Heather have said, immediate turnaround to the leadership team. And when appropriate, sharing with the individual as well as a management tool. And then this team dynamic analysis. So the profiles and analysis have provided me as a consultant and my clients three major things. Key traits that aid and advance career discussions. Is there a fit? Is it a proper fit? What's a better fit? Is there no cultural fit at all? Number 2, practical advice to improve manager and employee relationships. If you have someone who is sitting in a seat that requires detail and that person doesn't have that, how do you talk through? What kind of management coaching do you do in order to have someone improve their performance in a role? So practical advice to improve those discussions. And number 3, the in-depth team analysis that I've just referred to, that team dynamic analysis is what I've always called it, to help my clients, and this is what my clients love about working with Omnia. Maybe I would have gotten there on my own as a consultant, and maybe they would have. Omnia tools help fast forward organizational employment decisions. Now we have something objective sitting in front of a leadership team, something objective sitting in front of a manager and employee that can be referred to. Does this make sense? Does this refer to you? Where do we springboard from there? So let me give you 2 recent case studies as the last piece of my overview of my experience with Omnia. And these are ones that recently come to mind. As I said, I've been working with them for 30 years. The first is a large publicly traded company that has been my client and Omnia's for 20 years. So I've been through, I'm trying to think, Wendy specifically has worked with me with this client. I think we've been through 3 CEOs, we've been through divisional changes, been through a lot. But the most recent assessments that I've done, the consultation I've done with this publicly traded company, we used Omnia Group tools to do the following: reorganize a reporting structure to improve employee performance, and that includes managers' performance, that some of these individuals were in the wrong role themselves. Number 2, we broke down what we call silos. I'll explain that in a minute if you don't use that term as frequently as we do. To break down corporate silos to develop effective interdepartment teams, collaborative teams across divisions to achieve results. So I think you already are knowing, if you don't use that term silos, what that is are the individual departments that really work, unfortunately, in isolated fashion. They don't communicate across divisions. They don't nicely share resources. In fact, they compete for the same resources. I'm on IT's list to do that. I'm in product development to do that. The marketing department's working on that. And so we've got to break down those silos and get people talking with each other. And that's exactly what a reorganization and breaking down these corporate silos can do. And the last thing that is most gratifying to me, this is what trips my trigger being a consultant, is those Omnia Group tools have created promotional opportunities. And we've had multiple promotions and advancing careers and career opportunities. Or saying to someone, this is what I love, looking at the profile assessment, these are some areas that to get ahead, you should be working on. And would you like training? Would you like support? Would you like coaching? What outside, courses do you need to take to get ahead? And so this publicly traded company, that's exactly what we did. We reorganized the reporting structure. We broke down those silos, and to have cross-functional teams, interdepartmental communication and collaboration. And we were able to advance people and promote people and put people on career paths. And the other client that comes to mind is the other end of the spectrum. I'm lucky to work with some small family businesses, which bring me a lot of satisfaction as well. And this is how I worked with the most recent family business. This is one that was passing the baton to a younger generation. They had to change the business focus from reactive to proactive, from order taking to sales, to thinking more of marketing and sales, making outgoing calls. It sounds so simple, but if you have been in a role and been an order taker for your whole career. So the daughter came in and she said, we have got to ramp this place up. And that's exactly what we use the Omnia profiles for. Another thing that I think we haven't talked about at all is the ability that these assessments provide to identify new and strong leadership from, are you ready? Existing employees. I always tell my clients, if you've heard this expression, we don't want to throw the babies out with the bathwater. And what that means is you don't want to take talent that's just misplaced and drive people out the door. And whether you have to drive them out the door or they voluntarily leave, if you would change their seat and they have the history of the firm and understanding of your technology and understanding of your clients, my gosh, most important, don't you want to find their right role? And in this family business, we did have someone leave because that individual wasn't a manager, and we promoted someone to a management position, created a formal, called it a leadership team. And they have leadership team meetings, and they're collaboratively as a leadership team making decisions, which never happened with the senior generation. The owner ruled. That doesn't fly anymore. And the last thing we did for this family business was create uniform processes and procedures to deliver a consistent customer experience. So as you can imagine, if you have someone at the top saying, this is how we do it, everyone's going to take their own interpretation of achieving that result. So this huge culture shift at this small family firm, not so small actually, but compared to corporate America, small, we've just advanced people and improved customer experience. So in conclusion, my clients, if they were sitting here, would give high praise to Omnia as well for their products and services an individual consultation with them at no additional cost to the profiles that you're paying for. They are available for any discussion that my clients want to have directly with them. So here's how their tools have assisted my clients. Placing employees in the right position, identifying gaps in skills that addressed training needs, development needs, and promotional opportunities. And number 3, provided specific management advice on how to deal with individual employees. And boy, that's just priceless. So partnering with the Omnia Group has helped grow my business by providing meaningful and actionable advice to my clients that absolutely fast-forwarded business success.